goddamn phones. Babylons can't crack the code.
Thanks for coming back to view another video of the 95 Honda Del Sol project car. In the last video, you watched me remove the transmission, try to install a new clutch. With that, we found that we had the wrong pressure plate and wrong clutch disc. That's not going to be a problem. I've already emailed the supplier back. I've sent the pressure plate and clutch back to them, and now I just have to wait on a new pressure plate and clutch. It's not going to stop the video production. There's still plenty of things for me to do. I still need to clean the transmission. There's a few AC lines that I would like to remove from the car. And then there's also a little bit of maintenance I'd like to do on the brakes and the adjoining members to make sure that they stay rust free. But first, my garage is really dirty. I'll show you all what happened. I was planning on putting the clutch right back in, but that's not going to be the case, so I need to take a little bit more care of where I place parts and place bolts. So I'll give you all a view of what my garage looks like right now. Now, I kind of just have stuff laying all over. This is very bad maintenance on my part. I've got engine mounts out. I've got engine bolts just laying around, not labeled or anything like that. I've got parts on the floor. I've tried to keep everything together, but being that I'm going to be going a couple days, maybe in a week before I put these parts back in, I better start to label some of this stuff before it gets misplaced. I've got tools laying around, more parts laying on the floor, and it's just really awful, and I take full responsibility. Also have a parts storage area that just looks awful right now, and of course my workshop desk is there's no room to work. It's just kind of everything everywhere, so I need to get this garage cleaned before I do anything else. Got trash piled up, so first I'm going to get the garage cleaned, and then we'll work on a new project today. Alright, now that everything's cleaned up, I've got all my parts put away. I don't have random bolts laying around anymore. No parts on this side as well. I've got my work desk kind of cleared off. I know it's still messy, but I'm not going to be in this house very long, and I have my eye on a new workbench already. Otherwise, I would build some drawers in here that I could store all my tools. My parts station is cleaned up, nice and tidy. I swept the floor up. And this is all the ground that I swept up off the floor. As I've been banging on the car, stuff will fall out. And then I have all the pieces that I've taken off the car, nice and organized. There's not too much I've taken off, and I put all the bolts in a baggie. The bolts that I didn't put in a baggie, they're stuck back in where they came out of. I think that's a lot easier than trying to bag everything up. Just put them right back where they go and don't clamp anything down. Like as far as the transmission, I just slid the bolts in these holes. That way when I clean the transmission, I'll clean the bolts as well. Now that the garage is nice and clean, I don't have to worry about walking and stepping on a bolt or kicking something underneath of the car and not being able to find it. Got everything organized, we can go ahead and get started on what we're going to be working on this video. The first thing I want to do is there's some AC lines that I want to remove. This car doesn't have an air conditioner unit in it. It was taken out a while back, but the AC lines are still there. I would like to get rid of those to clean up the engine bay. Then we'll move along to painting the dampener forks. That works well. I'll pull the calipers, pull the lower control arm, upper control arm, and all the suspension along with it, and paint those black as well so that they have a nice clean look to them and they don't look rusted. So I'll go ahead and show you what I'm going to use to paint the dampener arms, and then we'll get started pulling the AC lines. For the AC lines, this is the line that I'm talking about. It comes down and connects to the AC, but there is no AC in there, as you can tell. So I'll be pulling this out. It comes all the way back and around. There's a connection here for it, and then it finally goes into the firewall here. I'll have to pull the battery plate to get that out, but it shouldn't be a problem, and we'll clean up this engine bay a little bit, and this shouldn't take too long. While taking a closer look at these AC lines that run in here, to get to the compressor, it's underneath the power steering reservoir. I plan on removing the power steering. That's the pump here, the pulley, and you remove the power steering and you can jumper the two lines on the rack, and that will allow the rack to stay lubricated. But that's a little more than I wanted to do today. So when I remove the power steering, I want to make sure that I have the fittings to jumper the lines on the back of the steering rack. So this project will have to wait until another day, but I'll be sure to shoot that for you of me removing the power steering, the reservoir, and I'll also take out the AC compressor in there, and then the AC lines running back to the firewall. And then I'm also going to remove the cruise control just to clean up the engine bay a little bit. I'll put all that into one video. Now we put that project off. That leaves us with getting these dampener arms cleaned up, painted, and see how they turn out. I'm gonna hit them with some brake parts cleaner, and I've got a metal brush that can scrape off any of the grime on here. I'm gonna do this over a towel so I don't get my garage too terribly dirty. Now I'll give you a before and after. If you look at both of these, I think this right one paint will have a lot easier time to stick to than the left. As you can see, the left is still rusty, and the right, we can see the paint, or we can see the metal, I'm sorry. So I think paint will have a lot easier time sticking to that than it will this rusty dampener arm. So I'll go ahead and get this one cleaned off as well, and then we'll hit them with brake parts cleaner one more time and start painting. Alright, now that I have both of the dampener arms cleaned off, I've let them hang here, and this is where I'll paint them. Unfortunately, they have two sides, unlike the valve cover, and I can't put them on cardboard and get them all painted. So I'll hang them here, and then I'll let them cure overnight and bring you back to see what they look like once they're done. So I just got home from work. I let these cure overnight. As you can see, they're nice and black, and that looks a lot better than a rusted piece. I think these turned out well, so I will go ahead and pull the calipers, upper control arms, and lower control arms, and get them painted this color as well. This is a complete aesthetic mod. It doesn't really need to be done, but it comforts me knowing that the under of the car will not be rusted out. Now I'm going to start to remove the caliper. It's only 2 bolts. They're 2 17mm bolts that hold on the entire caliper. There's a caliper bracket that's in here. I'll remove the actual caliper piston from that and get these taken apart so that I can sand them separately. The bolt holding them together is 12mm, and then there's a 14mm bolt for the band hole to brake line. Nigga, boop, boop. I went ahead and separated the caliper from the piston. I did that off camera. It's not too difficult, it's just 2 bolts. I'm gonna use the same process that I use with the dampener fork. Just sand it down, clean it up, and then I'll add some paint to it. I'm gonna tape off the areas that are important. I don't wanna paint this rubber here or here. And then also, I don't wanna paint the hole for the banyo bolt. I'll make sure that I keep that clear and also keep the bolt clear for the brake fluid in. Other than that, I should be able to sand it all down, get it to look good, and clean it up. Brake pads actually don't have that much wear on them. I'm surprised. Besides a little bit of rust, I think they're okay. So I'm just going to give these a quick clean with some brake clean, scrub them up, and as well as these clips here. I've got the band hole bolt closed off, and I've also got the brake fluid end closed off so we don't get that I went ahead and taped off the rubber also. I'm gonna paint this off camera. I'm not gonna bore you all with painting. You've already seen me paint a valve cover and the dampener arms. They're all the same, you get the idea. But these cleaned up nicely, got out most of the rust off of them, and we'll get some paint on them. I'll come back and show you what they look like. All right, got them painted, and you know the drill. We'll let them sit for 10 minutes and then come back and hit them with the second and third coat. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the left side calipers off and get those sanded down and get them ready to paint. All right, I just put my last coat on the left side calipers, or driver's side calipers. I'll let these dry overnight. You know how I like to let things cure a little bit longer than they need to. The right side came out fine. It's dry to the touch, but like I said, I'll let it cure overnight. And then we'll come back and get these bolted back up on the car and wrap this job up. Welcome back. I've let these cure overnight. It's actually been a couple days. I had to do some traveling for work. I'm happy with the way they turned out. Everything's dry, cured, and ready to be put back on. I decided against taking off the upper and lower control arms. I plan on upgrading all the suspension and brakes, but at the current state, I don't have, you know, $3 or $4 grand just to drop into brakes before I know that I can get a car running. So this will work for now. We'll get these put back on the car. Quick update, the replacement clutch came in, nice Exetti Pro kit. This clutch system came with all new bearings, so I'll be replacing those on the flywheel. I also have the new throwout bearing. I'll also replace that as well. So look forward to the video. We can finish up the transmission and get that thrown back in. But first, we got to put the brakes and the calipers back on the car. Just wanted to show you all this. This was the brake fluid that I drained out of the brake lines. It's really dirty. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there are lots of grit in the bottom of this jug that wasn't previously there, so that was all in the brake lines. I plan on doing a full brake system flush, so letting this drain out was a good idea. And then I'll flush fluid through the system once and then refill it after I get the calipers back on. I just wanted to show you all this so you could see what your brake fluid does when it sits for a long time. It starts to break down, and this stuff is nasty. It eats away at just about everything. So I'll be flushing the system to get any residual dirt or grit out of the system as well. While I was removing the brakes, spilled a little bit of brake fluid on the calipers, and this has made a really slick surface. You can see these calipers are all rusted up. I'll replace these, but for now, I'm just gonna hit them with some brake parts cleaner and a little bit of Scotch Brite pad and see if I can clean them up just a little bit. I'll be moving this car in a few weeks, so I won't be changing everything right now. I just need to get it to a running state so I can move it, and then I'll start replacing all the parts that I deem unfit and need to be replaced. Just to reiterate, these calipers do need to be replaced. I can tell just because there's the brake wear has started to create a lip at the edge of the caliper. That just shows how much the caliper's been worn down. I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, I will replace it, but for now, I think just cleaning them up will do just fine. So I can start throwing the brake caliper back together and then getting it tightened back up. So after removing my tape, my rubber's still good, doesn't have any paint on it, still moves in and out, so moves freely, and that's all I care about. So I've got the right side on. I think it looks good. It's no Willwood or Brembo, but for now I think this will work just fine for me. It'll look a lot better than a rusty caliper peeking through the rims. So we'll get right to the left side. I'm not gonna video that. If you don't know how to change brakes or put brake calipers back on, just search for it. There are plenty of videos on it. All right guys, and as you can see, we have the right side brake caliper reinstalled. So that should wrap it up for this video. Like I said, next time we'll be cleaning the transmission. It's really, really dirty. I want to get that cleaned up before I throw it back in the car. And we'll be installing the Exetti clutch. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Two damn phones, Babylons can't crack the code. Used to sip out styrofoam.